With misery, quite good.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to another episode. In this episode, I would like to talk to you about Brad Bird, animator turned director. And the more I study him, the more I realize that he infuses animation into everything he does. And let me explain to you exactly how he does it. So, while studying animation, you go to certain principles or rules, if you might say, things that have to be hatched in your mind while you animate. Things like staging or anticipation or eases. Brad started as an animator, and what's interesting is that everyone can see that he has a very peculiar style, and part of the reason why he has this peculiar style is because he infuses animation in everything he does. I'm going to show you two clips, one animated, another one live action, and I made sure to select two clips that are relatively similar in their setup because I think it bridges the gap very well between both mediums, so you guys can see that in both mediums the same rules and the same ideas apply. Follow me and let me show you how he gets down with filmmaking.
I remember doing very detailed screenplay pages for the 100-Mile Dash, a sequence we call the 100-Mile Dash, which was in the first Incredibles, where he goes running from the velocipods and all of that stuff. And there was, I wrote it out, and the person who storyboarded it just had him run on water. And I said, no. When he runs on water, he thinks he's going to fail, and then he finds that he can run on water, and he's exhilarated by it. You know, and so it wasn't just the action. The action wasn't enough. It's how does the character feel about the action, and then action becomes character, which becomes more interesting.
This is Incredibles and analyzing camera movement. In this scene, Helen had just had a pep talk with her kids, and she's about to go into the island to try and find out where exactly her husband is. I am going to draw over and talk over it so you have an idea how I see these shots and what makes them so interesting to me. I'm gonna be analyzing this piece here, seeing Ellen, aka Elastigirl. So on this first video, you can still see the feelings of the piece here, but I'm going to focus specifically on the camera work because this shot, it's beautiful, one of my favorite shots. The more you analyze it, the better it gets. So let's take you through this. The first shot, it's a mid shot, setting up the scene. So at this point, she realizes I don't know where to go, but my best bet is to go over here because this will lead me somewhere. So then we get a glimpse of her face, as in she actually doesn't know how to get over here, and this is still the same camera, no camera cuts. He gives us some time here in order to get into the character's head and think, just like she does right here, about how she might get there. At this point, she hears noise happening on this side of the screen, so she looks. The camera starts moving just a tad after she looks. She's already locked in, and now what is she looking at? She's looking at this. You still don't notice the camera, but you do notice that you're following along with the character. Just like the character is looking this way, you as the viewer are also looking this way. Now the camera stops following Ellen and starts following this guy here. Notice that the camera starts picking up on the speed, slowly disconnecting from this character and focusing on the pod here. Helen is getting ready to go up, and throughout this whole area here, you're anticipating the action. And you're anticipating because Helen is trying to gauge how fast this pod is going down this rail, almost like saying, come on, you can do it. And at this point, still same camera, no camera cut so far. She jumps for it, and the camera starts anticipating the action, just like she comes out of the screen this way, and the camera follows and goes into fast motion and stays in fast motion because you are still tracking the pod, not Helen at this point. So you track the pod, fast camera movement. Now you have a long shot. There's danger ahead. Throughout this whole area here, the camera, instead of following the pod, now the camera is locked in with the pod. You don't want to be distracted by what goes on over here. You want to focus on Helen here. She is, after all, trying to get on top of the pod. So because she has danger in front of her, she needs to swing out of the danger. So she swings that way. But notice that the camera also moves slightly that way, just a little bit. Camera moves that way. Now Helen is like, I might need to do it again because another pillar is coming here. So she swings the other way. The camera swings more that way, as if to mimic Helen's movements. And now finally Helen actually goes up to the pod, and the camera swings up as well to follow her. Now notice, if I go back to this, as the camera is pinned to the pod here, the camera swings just like the character in order to give you the same sense of swinging as Helen. And it goes from small swing to slightly bigger swing to really big swing, and boom. Beautiful animation of the camera. Once again, I feel like if he was an animator, director animator, I don't think he would have gone to the trouble of doing this. Because you've been tracking the pod all along with the camera starts by tracking the pod, but then starts slowing down while the pod continues its movement forward. This with the trees here, kind of a passing in front of the screen, give like a really nice sense of speed, almost like she's speeding into the next trouble, the next scene. So okay, so this marks yet another camera, and it's the start of something new. She now got into the vehicle, the pod. She is now safe, and she needs to find a way to get to the place that she wants to be, which is the building where Bob is. She's thinking about where she needs to go. She doesn't know where, she just knows that she's heading somewhere. She needs to find out where she needs to go. So she gives you a little, so he gives you a little time to breathe here. And then he gives you her perspective, as if she's looking where to go. So the camera just goes left first and then goes right, as if I'm analyzing the area slightly. So there, and then finally goes up. And then boom, I found where I need to go. Most likely is that spiky thing. Something distracts her. She hears something from here, and she needs to hide. And she catches that it's guards. That's weird. And now she's thinking, what was that? It's almost like she's trying to look that way, as if she wants to see more of what that was. And now we get a revelation of even more weird stuff, like some rockets. What is that for? Brad doesn't change the angles of the cameras, so you don't get distracted by that. He wants your full attention here. Once again, she thinks about it, and now time to take off and go and check what I've just seen. This is another thing that Brad does very well. Just when you think you're safe and everything's finished, he goes in and boom, hit you up the head with something else that you didn't saw coming, and now it's time to go and do my thing. You can tell in Brad's work that he had a lot of influence from people such as Orson Welles and Buster Keaton. Buster specifically, he was very good at improvising for his stunts.
How much of it was planned and how much came out in the actual doing? How much was improvised, you know?
Well, as a rule, about 50% you have in your mind before you start the picture, and the rest you develop as you're making.
Here's Brad on the same subject many years later.
I write certain things to be elaborated on. So it's the kind of thing that I think it would be analogous in a live action film that you would develop on the set. That you would see how somebody's walking and you'd say, try this over here, why don't you pick this up on that line? And the cinematographer says, hey, we could have a great shot here, you know. So it kind of varied throughout the film, but because a lot of my training is in animation, I think I have it in mind where I want to extemporize and where I want to just figure it out in advance. Because I've storyboarded and because I'm from animation and my story reels tend to be very elaborate. I mean, even in animation, I'm considered a real pre-planner. Strangely, that made me able to improvise and have it work. You know, I was used to planning shots and coming up with them quickly. So, but I would just board them then. Right. So it wasn't actually that terrible. I really kind of enjoyed having a physical camera to move.
So this is me analyzing a section that I found really interesting in Ghost Protocol. I think the staging is beautiful. I think it works in so many levels, and I hope you find it as interesting as I do. This clip, I think, summarizes all that is genius about Brad Bird. His camera movement and his staging and the feeling that you get, it's very well done, very well staged. We just came from Inside, well, where the officer found out that Tom Cruise is no longer in his bed, so he just comes out the window and looks this way and doesn't find anything. So he starts wondering, where is he? And then the camera pans, once again going back to that idea that the camera is a character that follows along in the story, follows a specific character. In this case, we're actually following his eye gaze that goes from here to then here. So the character moves, or the actor in this case, the actor moves, and just as he finishes movement, the camera follows along to reveal what he's looking at. And what he's looking at is Tom Cruise struggling with his escape. So this shot here is really well done. He opens up really well. Once again, you have a nice angle or where he's looking at. And most importantly, he kind of focuses on the three main things that happen in this shot. This guy is trying to catch this guy, and this guy wants to escape. Without you knowing, Brad Bird will also want you to focus on this, but you don't know that until later, because this is going to be his escape route. Let's watch what happens next. It cuts back to this agent. Now Brad, being a master at telegraphing what the character is feeling, right here he's really confused. Like, what is he trying to do? I don't get it. Like, there's no way that he can leave or escape from here. So he looks up, looks down, has a nice gaze at him. So now we have like a long shot of the whole scene. So we see Tom Cruise in the middle of the shot. We see this guy on one side. Once again, we see the cable again, and we see where Tom is trying to get to. But as a viewer, you still don't get how he is going to get there. So you feel like this guy here, confused. What is he up to, really? So after leaving the viewer to actually absorb this information for quite a bit, now we get back to the policeman. At this point, he's realizing, okay, just like the viewer, there's no way he's going to jump or do anything. So let's see what's under him. Just as the character is hitting that downward gaze, what is he looking at? It's him going down and revealing the only thing that kind of makes sense to escape, which is a rubbish bin, very far away. Is that an option? We don't know yet. So this is Brad telling us, look at him, maybe he's gonna jump. Tom Cruise is looking this way going, maybe I can make it. And the audience is thinking, maybe that's his way out. But then when you look at the police officer, kind of go, no, not really. This shot really doesn't change because this is Tom's perspective. So the only thing you get is basically a little bit of shake in order to almost replicate this feeling of Tom Cruise of just being nervous and about to jump. So now that we actually established the rubbish bin, he's thinking about it. Police officer goes like, fair enough, do it. Try it out. Tom actually kind of tenses up a little bit. Nice piece of acting. As if he's going to go down. He's psyching himself up, going, yep, I can do it. And then Brad gives you yet another shot in order to establish that at this distance, it's way too high. Because you as the audience, up to this point, you think that maybe he can make it, because at the end of the day, maybe he can jump from that height and make it. But Brad goes, nope, this is way too high. So then Tom looks this way, see if maybe there's another option. But Brad kind of goes, this is not even an option. It doesn't give you very much. He just pans the camera slightly this way, as in, nah. And Tom also moves away from that corner to tell you that that's not a viable option. Here you have the opposite shot of the beginning. Lights up a cigarette. It's all good. I'm just gonna wait for him. They have a little exchange. Tom at this point, you can see in his face that he's completely just defeated. He needs to basically go back, and that's the only way that he can actually get out of the situation. There's no way out. As he's coming back, once again, notice the cable in here. As he's coming back, he hears a noise, catches his attention. He looks down. What is he looking at? Camera move. Obviously, the camera moves cannot be as refined as in animation. This guy actually starts kind of running his car, and all of a sudden he thinks, maybe I can make it. He looks at the cable. Now we understand why the cable is being framed all the time. Gets closer to the cable, even though there's no camera movement. But it's Brad telling us this. It's your anticipation towards the vehicle that is going to get eventually under Tom over here somewhere. Belt flick. The agent is not so sure that he's gonna come back anymore. What is he up to? Nice little stunt. Grabs the cable, starts zipping down. This guy is amazed, not so happy anymore. And then he gives us 1 and then 2 shots and 3 in order to buy some time. And eventually he lets go, because from this angle you also see that he's pretty much under the truck. Falls down, hits the road. Am I still alive? Wow, incredible. The agent now finds out that he made it, and he's the well. So time to go chasing, and Tom knows that and runs away.
Not a good idea.
Seemed like one a minute ago.
Это что такое? Черт! Ай, ё-моё!
Alright, so that's it. Wrapped up. I hope you guys got something useful out of all this. I just maybe wanted to give you guys a glimpse of how I see some of these shots by these favorite directors. If you guys like it, give it a thumbs up. Just like last time, leave a comment. If you don't know what to say, just leave a comment with dope or nope. And that's enough for me to know that this is going the right way, or maybe not so much. Thanks for the love, I appreciate it. Like, this is more personal to me. It's more about just me doing something that I love, sharing with you guys, and then just putting it out there, see what happens. But if you guys are feeling it, let me know. Thanks a lot for watching it, I highly appreciate it. See you in the next one. Stay well, stay safe. Peace.